I wonder if there's a slightly worse actor named Scotty B. Pippen. Hey everyone, welcome to Create Context Weekly Movie Minute. I am Joe from Create Context, and today we're talking about the movie Sinners. One Mississippi night in the 1930s, a young, mediocre musician by the name of Robert Johnson longed to sing the blues. Robert had middling success in the music world, playing at juke joints and taverns around the South, but he wasn't very good, and Johnson longed for something more. He wanted to be the best. So that night, Robert Johnson took his guitar down to the crossroads at midnight and met with the one man who could give him everything he ever wanted, the devil himself. Robert Johnson met with the devil, gave him his guitar, and the devil gave him back a cursed guitar in exchange for his soul. Robert Johnson soon reached fame, traveling all around Mississippi. He became known all over the South for his technical mastery of the guitar and his deep, brooding harmonies. From 1932 to 1938, Robert Johnson literally was the greatest musician on the face of the earth until his untimely death at the age of 27. I mention this story because Ryan Coogler's new film, Sinners, is all about music, specifically the blues. It's also a movie about vampires, colonization, Jim Crow laws, religion, and a host of other fully realized themes and ideas. But at its core, Sinners is a movie about the blues. Sinners takes place in Mississippi in 1932 and follows twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan. Smoke and Stack are back in Mississippi after a 7-year stint in Chicago working for Al Capone. After their time with this criminal underworld of Chicago, the two return to Mississippi with a pocket full of money and a hope of making a little bit more. Pair by an abandoned warehouse with plans to create a juke joint, a place for all the black people living in that town under the oppressive Jim Crow laws to drink and dance and sing the blues. People that are looking for some fun and an escape for their everyday lives. The two plan this grand opening night for the joint, and they pack the place out. The old warehouse is filled with drinks, dancing, music, and most importantly, people. People that are just like them. Until a few uninvited evil entities show up to ruin their night. If you've seen any of the marketing for Sinners, then you know it is a movie about vampires, but Sinners is so much more than just another vampire movie. Vampires are eerily absent from the majority of the film. We don't actually see any vampires on screen until the 45-minute mark, and even that is just a quick climax to the first act. The first act is introducing all the characters we'll be spending time with during the film, and they're all interesting and superbly well-written characters. The first act also introduces this postmodern Mississippi in the 1930s. It very much looks like Mississippi from the 1930s. We're obviously dealing with all of the themes of racism and the Ku Klux Klan that was going on at this time, but there's still a ton of style and swagger that is exuding from Michael B. Jordan and his character. Aside from the twins, we also follow their younger cousin, Sammy. Sammy goes by Preacher Boy, a nickname he earned due to his father's profession as a pastor who, like Robert Johnson, longs to be the best blues musician of all time. Haley Steinfeld gets second billing as Mary, the former lover of Stack, and there's a host of smaller side characters from the Old Town Drunk to the Big Bouncer, and they all feel like meaningful additions to the cast. No one feels unutilized in this film. The second act of the movie is the opening night of their juke joint, and this is truly an incredible sequence, one of the best sequences I've seen on film this year. The party they throw, and specifically the musical numbers they have, they're perfectly blocked and framed. There are these amazing tracking shots following the characters through the dance halls, to the bar, and into the backroom card games. It all sounds amazing, and it brings together the film's central theme of music and the power that music can have over people. The vampires and action portion of the film doesn't begin until the third act, but when it does escalate, it ramps up quickly in a satisfying way. Even though it takes a long time for the vampires to show up, the film doesn't suffer at all in this lead up. The movie is just as entertaining and engaging, following these fully realized characters through this postmodern 1930s Mississippi, as it is when the vampires show up and there's tons of action and spectacle. It all works really well together. The beginning, the first act, second act, and third act, they're all perfectly done. If there's any complaint I could throw at Sinners, it would be that the film is maybe a little too sentimental in its final moments. There are some somber flashback cuts and moments of reflection that I didn't think really add anything to the film, but this is such a minor quibble for a movie that I found to be absolutely excellent. Music is a huge part of the film, but Sinners is also a movie about colonization and white people taking over black spaces. The initial vampire we see in the film is white, but there's actually a little twist on his backstory that I won't spoil, but it makes the film fully realize its themes of oppression and displacement. Vampires are such an interesting mythos to use for this theme. These are inherently evil beings that look just like us, but deep down they only seek destruction. They only want to take. They want to take everything from the good people that are just minding their own business, trying to get along in life, and they can't do that unless they are literally invited in. That's part of the mythos of the vampires, is that they can't enter a space unless they're invited in, and this film plays with that idea and that theme in a really cool and interesting way. You have to dance with the devil, allow yourself to keep company with him before he comes in, but all the devil needs is just that small invitation, and then he comes and takes over your life. It's a deeply religious metaphor, but this is a movie named Sinners, so that's kind of expected. The religious aspects of the film, the theme of evil and good, is on full display and pairs exceptionally well with the movie's other grand ideas about music and bridging generations. There is generational evil that feels impossible to stop. It's lurking just outside the walls of this juke joint sanctuary. It's a brilliant metaphor, and it's captured with technical mastery by Coogler and his team. This metaphor feels perfectly realized in this postmodern 1930s Mississippi that Ryan Coogler has created, when we're looking at all the generational trauma that has come from people in the South, specifically black people in the South that were under these oppressive Jim Crow laws that were recently freed from slavery. It's just a really interesting and cool metaphor. I love that he uses vampires as the idea to realize this theme. It's really just all around fantastic. Sinners is a movie that I can't recommend enough. I see a lot of movies in theaters, and oftentimes those movies are bad. But even the good ones I see, I'm glad I saw them in theaters, but it's rare for me to feel like I'm having an experience in the theater, like I'm seeing something that truly deserves to be seen on the big screen. Sinners is that rare exception, where it feels like something so much bigger than just a movie. It's an incredible film that reminded me why I love movies and how special seeing a movie can be inside of a theater. If you like Sinners and you're looking for something similar, I have a few recommendations. First, I check out From Dusk Till Dawn. This is a Robert Rodriguez movie from 1996, and if you haven't seen it, spoilers, I guess, for a 30-year-old movie, it is also a movie about vampires. But similar to Sinners, the vampires don't show up for most of the film. It begins as this kind of gangsters on the run type movie. George Clooney plays Seth Gecko, an infamous bank robber who just busted his brother Richie, played by Quentin Tarantino, out of prison. They take some hostages by way of an old preacher who's lost his faith and his family, and they head for the border of Mexico, where things get a little crazy. It's a really fun movie, and one where the beginning, without any supernatural elements, is just as good and engaging as the second half. Next, I check out a movie called Remastered Devil at the Crossroads. This is actually a documentary that's on Netflix as part of their Remastered series, and this movie is about Robert Johnson and the legend of how he sold his soul to the devil in order to become the greatest blues musician of all time. Sammy in Sinners, Preacher Boy, is heavily inspired by Robert Johnson. You can see a lot of the DNA from that true story of Robert Johnson. Maybe him selling his soul isn't the true story, but he was a real man who kind of left obscurity to become this incredible blues musician. You can see a lot of that DNA in the story of Sammy, and the Robert Johnson story is really such an interesting one, how he came out of obscurity to become this well-renowned blues artist, and the struggle he faced in his life, battling all these metaphorical demons while Sammy's battling literal demons. It's a great documentary and honestly the perfect companion piece to Sinners, I think. Lastly, I check out a movie called Good Night Mommy just because it is a great film and one of the best horror movies that involves twins, in my opinion. I'd see the 2014 Austrian one. There was an American remake a couple years back starring Naomi Watts, but that flick is far inferior to the original foreign one. Good Night Mommy is a movie that's best to go in cold. So I'll just say that it's about a mother who has undergone some facial reconstruction surgery. She's wearing bandages all over her face for the entire film, and her two twin sons are suspicious about the real person behind that mask. Thank you guys so much for hanging out at the Weekly Movie Minute. I am Joe from Create Context. We'll be back next week with, I think, Until Dawn. We'll see, maybe something else, maybe The Accountant too, but Until Dawn is what I thought originally. If you like this, if you liked hanging out, please subscribe. That would be super cool, and I'll see you guys next time.